Hello and welcome to my history lessons. So today we're going to start our discussion on Black Americans by talking about the Black Panther Party. So today we're going to explore the question, how has being Black in America affected people's political opportunities? So I just want to start with this quick entrance slip. So I found this quote, and it says, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable." And I just want you guys to take just a quick second to think about what this quote means and how do you think it really applies to history in general, but also the civil rights movement and the Black Panthers, especially if you know anything about them already. So just pause this video and just take a quick second to reflect. Okay, so personally, what I get from this quote is people who try to avoid peaceful protests and people who try to suppress peaceful protests, especially in the context of a group that's in power suppressing a group that's in the minority. They will always, the minority group will usually always try to fight for the rights, and sometimes they'll have to resort to violent means to do so, because if you really think about history in general, everyone ever has wanted their rights to be respected, and they've wanted to have a good life and to give their families a good life. So anyone who tries to sort of suppress that need, those natural rights, if we go back to John Locke and the beginnings of American history, inevitably that's going to be met with resistance. I mean, that's how the American Revolution started, you know? So just keep that in mind when you think about why groups resort to violence. So when we discuss what the Black Panther Party was, it was a political party that was founded by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale in 1966. And if you look at the image, you can see them pictured there. It was really aligned with the Black Power movement, which happened during the 70s and emphasized that, you know, Black lives matter, just like the movement that we've seen come into fruition today. You know, it really emphasized that Black lives didn't need to be, like, Black people didn't need to assimilate into society. They didn't need to be respectable in order to deserve civil rights. And it really emphasized, you know, civil disobedience and Black nationalism and all of these really sort of interesting movements that fueled a rise in, like, you know, Black activism, art, literature, all that sort of stuff. So it's a really, really cool time in history. So the Black Panther Party was basically founded in order to sort of follow cops around with guns and monitor them for police brutality, because so many Black people had been killed by cops over and over and over again because of racial profiling and discrimination, and they were just sick and tired of it. I mean, as anyone would be. So what they decided to do was they decided that if the cops weren't going to police themselves, they were going to police the cops. But more importantly, the Black Panther Party focused on protecting and nurturing Black lives, especially children. They created free breakfast programs for school children all over the country, wherever they had different locations. And they founded a community school in Oakland that helped educate Black children and ensure that they received quality educations despite the lack of funding that was put towards majority Black schools. However, there were many conflicts with the police for obvious reasons. I mean, tensions between police and Black people still remain high because of the amount of police violence and police brutality that Black people endure. So in 1967, Huey Newton was accused of killing police officer John Frey, and he was arrested and jailed. It's still not clear if he actually did do that, however. So it might have been a case, it was probably a case of, false imprisonment, but that spurred a huge movement, as you can see in the picture on the right, to free Huey, and also it forced a reckoning on how the justice system treats Black people, especially Black men. In 1968, Aldrich Cleaver, a police officer, led an ambush in Oakland, California, where the Black Panthers were, their headquarters were located, and it resulted in the death of Bobby Hutton. So police officers stormed where he was living and shot him to death in his sleep. Additionally, throughout the entirety of the Black Panthers' existence, there have been FBI infiltrators that caused infighting, that led to arguments and disagreements and fights and even the death of 2 Panthers. So sort of tying into this was the COINTELPRO program created and run by J. Edgar Hoover, who was the FBI director at the time. So COINTELPRO was essentially a program of domestic surveillance that was built in order to surveil and combat various enemy groups as identified by the FBI. So these included political groups, including the Black Panther Party. So it consisted of illegal wiretapping and surveillance of BPP locations and members, as well as FBI infiltrators that spread dissonance among its members and created infighting, and it made them think that, the other members were secretly against them or that they were working against them. And it also used the legal system to silence the party and its members. So as we've seen with sort of Huey Newton's arrest and imprisonment, even though there's no actual proof that he killed the police officer. It also diminished the public standing of the Black Panther Party by sending anonymous letters and publishing pamphlets disparaging them and saying that they did violent things that they didn't actually do. For example, when a lot of people think of the Black Panther Party, they think, oh, it's like Black nationalists with guns who want to kill all cops or whatever and cause violence. That's not true. That's FBI propaganda. In reality, no one talks about the amazing good this group did. They fed thousands of kids in their breakfast programs. They founded schools. They promoted uplifting the community. They did amazing things, but all anyone talks about is, the supposed violence that they created and the people that they killed, even though there wasn't really that much violence that they, committed. Eventually, the COINTEL program led to a police raid on their Chicago headquarters, which resulted in the murder of Fred Hampton, who was a prominent member of the party. So finally, as we wrap up this little mini lesson, I just want you to think about, what is the legacy of the Black Panther Party, and do you agree with their actions? Why or why not? So just pause the video for a second and really think about the little bit that you've learned about them today. And you don't have to agree with everything they do, because life is shades of gray, But just think about their actions and whether or not they deserve the reputation that they have. Okay, well, that's all for today, guys. I'm going to link a primary source document in the description with some more questions if you want to learn more. And I really encourage you to do some more digging on the Black Panther Party and Black nationalism and the Black Power movement in general, because it's a really interesting period in time. And it's very important to know this sort of history, because the only way we learn from our mistakes is by, knowing about them. So we really have to learn about history and all parts of our history. So thank you guys for listening, and I hope you'll stick around so we can learn more next time.